Hey guys, as y'all know, I had emergency surgery this week. Yes, I'm fine. I really appreciate all you guys' well wishes. But no new content this week. I didn't have it in me. But I am going to give you a replay. I said no episode, but can't just not do that. I am going to do a replay of the Florida Panthers because they are, I don't want to say tripping at the finish line, but they're there. They're in the playoffs for the Stanley Cup, and I hope they win. They finally need to bring it home to South Florida, even though that's probably still the last place we think of when we think of hockey. So, enjoy learning about the hopefully new owners of the Stanley Cup, the Florida Panthers, guys. All right, and I'll be back next week with new content, lots of great interviews coming up. Again, thank you guys to everybody who checked on me, and I really appreciate it and love you guys. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, follow. And I will see you guys next week. Hey guys, did you ever want to try something that is just distinctively Florida? Or what about the taste of Florida, like the true essence of Florida in a drink? Then you need to try Black Coral Rum. It's like capturing the Sunshine State in a glass. But Black Coral Rum just isn't any rum. It's not your average rum. It's actually a celebration of Florida's vibrant culture and history. So with each sip, you're going to be transported back to orange groves, swaying palm trees, and it's going to be as smooth as the sand beneath your feet, whether you're drinking the white rum, the spiced rum, or the black rum. But what really makes this rum special? That's the dedication of the locals who craft it. It's made by those who share a deep love of Florida and only use in Florida ingredients. So, if you're looking for something that is distinctly Florida, then look no further than Black Coral Rum. Where do you find Black Coral Rum, you ask? You're going to find it at their distillery in West Palm Beach. Their distillery is Steel Tie Spirits. Can't make it to West Palm? That's okay. Check out their website, steeltiespirits.com. And trust me, you're going to sip on this and you're going to think nothing but Florida. Hey guys, welcome to That Florida Feeling. I hope everybody's having a great week. First of all, happy International Women's Day to everybody out there. I hope that everybody is surviving and thriving because I know it's been hard lately. Shout out to Keb, Unfiltered Studios. I'm glad you're doing better. Shout out to all the Unfiltered Studios podcast as well. I know that we're all making it, so good job. Congrats to all of us, especially the new ones joining the studios. So yeah, I hope that everybody's having a great week. It's been an interesting week. I know that none of us are excited for daylight savings time that's happening on Sunday. I thought that we did away with this, or I thought we passed a bill for doing away with this. Apparently, we just aren't getting our stuff together. I don't know. Can't we just pick a time and leave it? Anyways, rant over on that one. Thanks to everybody who has interacted with the social media pages. You guys are awesome as always. I really appreciate it. Still doing the YouTube thing or trying to. TikTok is one of those pages where I try and then I forget and then I post 3 days in a row and then it takes me some time. So thanks for keeping up with that one as well. Keep sharing those memes on Facebook. I love seeing them. We all have a different interpretation of Florida Man and I love it. So thank you for that. So today I'm going to go ahead and give you a disclaimer on this. I am going to mispronounce a lot of this episode because I do not speak French, and I will mess up some of this, and I apologize. But I want to talk about something fun and something that, again, doesn't seem like it should really work for Florida, but somehow it does. I'm talking about hockey. We talked about the Tampa Bay Lightning. Well, let's talk about the other team in Florida that's doing pretty well this year, actually. Let's talk about the Florida Panthers. And Florida's kind of done really well the past couple years in hockey. The Florida Panthers made it and tripped at the finish line last year. Maybe they can do it good this year. Let's see what happens. But we do have two main hockey teams, of course, the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers. The Lightning came first, but the Panthers are kind of holding their own. They held their own last year up until the end, and they're doing pretty well this year. Let's see what happens. The Florida Panthers call Sunrise, Florida home, or the greater Miami area. They actually have a really cool stadium. I've been. It's called Panther. It's Pantherland, but it's a really nice stadium. They have it's really beautiful, but it's really strange. It's like tucked away, and it's right beside a mall. So like when you're driving, you're like, is this right? Is there a stadium? But it's a really nice stadium. The Florida Panthers are in the Atlantic Division of the Eastern Conference, and the Panthers are the southernmost team in the NHL. The Panthers started when these are the names I'm going to mess up. Wayne Huizenga, the Blockbuster Video owner, actually was awarded a franchise expansion on December 10th, 1992, the same day that Walt Disney World earned the rights to start a new team in Anaheim that became the Mighty Ducks. Huizenga also owned the newly franchised Miami Marlins in the MLB, also part of a share of the Miami Dolphins. I mean, this guy was all in about making Miami, and bringing teams to Miami. So I guess we kind of have him to thank for having Miami teams. But a press conference was held in Fort Lauderdale in April of 1993 to announce that the new team would be called the Florida Panthers. And Bill Torrey was going to be the president, and Bobby Clark was the new GM. The team was named the Panthers in honor of the Florida Panthers, which is an endangered cat species in Florida that calls the Everglades in South Florida home. Although I guess now they're kind of moving around a little bit, not so much in South Florida anymore. The logos and uniforms were unveiled on June 15th, and the team also announced that it would make a financial commitment to panther preservation, which it still does to this day. The Florida Panthers' inaugural season was in 1993 and 94. The team actually set a record for the most points by any expansion team in its inaugural season, up until it was surpassed by the Vegas Golden Knights in 2017-18. So they actually held that record for a pretty long time. The team's first win of the season actually came against their neighbor, the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Panthers actually had one of the most successful first seasons of any expansion team in the league up until that point. And they just barely missed going to the playoffs in their first season, which kind of makes it for a really cool first season. They started off really good. They had a really great first season. There was really high hopes for this team. Roger Nielsen was their trap defense, and of course, people criticized it, saying that he ruined the game. And of course, that was really their first year success was really given to Roger Nielsen as the head coach, because they did use that trap defense. But honestly, the first real crowds of spectators were snowbirds from Canada, and so it took some time. I mean, a lot of people in South Florida weren't used to hockey, so it was the snowbirds coming to the games. So they had a whole different outlook on hockey, being as they, lived and breathed hockey. And it did take some time, but eventually Floridians have embraced the Panthers, much like they embraced the Lightnings. And, the Panthers are the home team now in South Florida. The team did lose their GM in 1994 to the Philadelphia Flyers, and Brian Murphy was brought in from the Red Wings. They did have another good year with a short year in 1994 to 95 due to the lockout season. Unfortunately, Nielsen was eventually fired from head coach after an argument with Murray about a top star on their team. Again, these are where I'm going to mess up the names. Ed Jovanovski? Doug McLean was promoted to coach for the next season. The 1995-96 season saw some interesting changes in the team, especially in the form of goal celebration. The night of the home opener of the 95-96 season, a rat came running across the team locker room. Sean Mellenby reacted by sending the rat flying into the wall and killing it. Mellenby would go on to score 2 goals that night, and a team member would call it a rat trick. The story got out, and after that, the team would score a goal and fans would begin to throw rubber rats onto the ice in celebration of the goal. The rat count went from 16 after the third home game to over 2,000 when they would make it to the playoffs. The team actually did make it to the playoffs in 1996, and as a 4th seed in the East to face the Boston Bruins in the first round, and actually won in 5 games. Bill Lindsay's series-clinching goal is still a trademark image for the run in the playoffs, because it was only the 3rd year the team had been in existence for the league. So within the first 3 years, this team is doing amazing. And of course, the Panthers would continue their run to upset top seed Philadelphia Flyers in 6 games, and then take on the Penguins in the 7th game. They actually made it to the Stanley Cups, and they were going to face the Colorado Avalanche. Unfortunately, the Panthers went down in 4 games, and despite losing the cup, they were actually the first team in expansion history for the most wins in their first postseason appearance with 12 victories. Again, they would go on to get beaten by the Vegas in the 17-18 season. So again, they held that for a really long time. The Panthers would start the next season with a 12-game unbeaten streak, but the team tended to fall off in the second half of the season. They lost 5 games to the New York Rangers team led by Wayne Gretzky, which, I mean, he was the great one, so, you know. The 97-98 season would see the team pretty much just fall apart. This is kind of where their decline started. Doug McLean was fired after a disastrous start that brought about the worst record in franchise history. They had a 24, 43, and 15 season that included a 15-game winless streak. The season also brought about the end of one of their star players. Goaltender, and I've been coached on how to say this, John Van Beesbroek, was traded to the Chicago Blackhawks. My husband was very proud that I understood how to say Van Beesbroek. He was traded to Chicago Blackhawks, which he was really kind of a main point in the team. So when he left, I mean, the team just kind of continued to fall apart. The team was going to start the next season off in their new arena, the National Car Rental Center, which was the FLA Live Arena in 1998, which I think it's changed names as of this year. They managed to pick up a huge trade when they acquired Pavel Bure, the Russian Rocket, in 98-99 season, and they reached the playoffs again in the 99-2000 season. Unfortunately, though, they lost in the first round after being swept by the New Jersey Devils. The team did not rebound back the next season, again with another losing season, so they're having a very up-and-down seasons. Huizenga had had enough of the Panthers and decided he was done and sold them to an ownership group led by Alan Cohen. The team did not perform well, though, for its new owners in the 01-02 season and actually brought about the worst season ever for the team. If you thought it was bad before, it was worse now. The team had an average season the next season and even hosted the NHL All-Star Weekend in 2003. The Panthers would continue to make trades to try and build back the team like the one in 96 to go back to their former glory. And they did make a lot of trades. You know, they tried to get there, but unfortunately, they were not known for making great trades, or the players just didn't mesh. Like, they just couldn't get their stuff together. You know, some bad seasons, some bad drafts. The mid-2000s just weren't the greatest years for the Panthers. And, of course, the Panthers still hadn't gone back to the playoffs even after the 2008 season, which kind of marks an 8-year absence, which is a long absence for a team that had such a great start, especially just right out of the gate. And they knew they had to make changes, and they did. They hired Del Talon as the team's new GM in May of 2010, and Talon quickly went to work rebuilding the team. He wanted a whole new set of players. He wanted better draft picks. He wanted this team to really get back to what they were in their early days. They also changed head coaches in 2011 with Kevin Denham coming to Florida from the American Hockey League. He would be the 11th coach, though, in the franchise history. The team also rebranded with new home jerseys, and they made more offseason acquisitions in 2011. The Panthers finally ended their decade-long absence in the playoffs. They won their first ever division title in franchise history with a 4-1 victory over the Carolina Hurricanes in April of 2012. But they were eliminated first round in the playoffs again by the New Jersey Devils after going into double overtime on the 7th and final game of the seasons. They're still going to try, though. The next season, though, was shortened by a lockout in 2013, and it didn't help that the Panthers had a terrible season. They suffered through injuries and ended up back as the worst team in the league. They continued their bad luck as they finished 29th out of 30th in the league in the 13-14 season. They weren't the worst, but they were close. Kevin Denham was again let go as the head coach and replaced by Peter Horachek. Horachek only lasted part of the season before he was let go because the team just was not getting their stuff together. Gerard Gallant would be the next head coach of the Panthers. This is really, though, where I would say people kind of really got tired of the Panthers shit and started to give up because by the 14-15 season, people weren't going anymore. And this is really where you see, like, you still have some diehard fans, and this happens to a lot of teams, where the Panthers just weren't drawing fans anymore as the 14-15 home opener was literally the lowest attended opener in franchise history, where just barely 11,000 fans attended. The lowest attendance for the team was the second game, however, with just 7,000 people in attendance. Having been in that arena, it holds a lot more. That's very sad for that team. The 15-16 season, though, looked promising as they had a 12-game win streak, and they set a franchise record for most games won in the season with 47. They did win the division title for the second time since they were founded, but they lost to the New York Islanders in the first round of the playoffs. The 16-17 season saw more changes to the team as they started off with a 11-10-1 season, and they fired Gallant as coach as he was not performing. Tim Rowe, who had just been promoted to general manager, also took off as interim coach. Bob Bonner? I can't pronounce this. We're going to say Bob. Bob was brought in. I gave it my best attempt, guys. Bob was brought in as the new head coach. The 17-18 season, though, did get off to a slow start, but they came back in the second half and just barely missed playoff competition, so it seems like they're back on an uphill swing. They had a 44-30-8 season with 96 regular points to become one of the few teams to ever have the most regular season points, but still managed to miss the playoffs. April of 2019 saw the end of Bob as the head coach with Joel Queenanville was named the 16th head coach in team history, and Talon parted ways as GM in 2020. Bill Zito was hired to succeed Talon as the GM on September of 2020, and the Panthers would go on to have a pretty decent season. They earned 79 points in 56 games due to a shortened season due to COVID. They were placed second in the Atlantic Division. They faced the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round of playoffs, but we all know the Lightning were having a really good year that year, and they were defeated in 6 games. The 21-22 season actually saw good things for the Panthers as they started 7-0 under Queenanville, but would have to resign due to sexual misconduct scandal from his time as head coach from the Blackhawks. So even though they had a really good head coach, he was just doing some things he wasn't supposed to, and unfortunately that followed him to the Panthers. Andrew Burnett was named interim head coach. April 2022 brought about the Panthers being the first team to clinch playoff berth, so they were actually doing pretty good under Burnett. Victory came as their 48th season win, and they broke their previous record, so 22 was actually a good season. They were Atlantic Division champions over the Detroit Red Wings, which means they were division champs for the first time since the 15-16 season. They also had a 12-game winning streak. The Panthers had 118 points for the season and won the President's Trophy for the very first time in franchise history. They eventually ended the regular season with 118 points, which meant that they had the best record registered in the league with a 58-18-6 season, beating out the Tampa Bay Lightning's record for the league. They finally won over their neighbors. The Panthers did advance past the first round for the first time in 26 years. However, they did not pass the second round as the Tampa Bay Lightning got them again. The 22-23 season was a positive one for the team. They did have to overcome some injuries. They gained a wild card spot in February of 2023 with a 42-32-8 record. They did take the first seed Boston in the first round as they were the underdogs, but they did come out swinging. And the Panthers were going to beat the Bruins and then the Maple Leafs to face the Carolina Hurricanes. We all know that they did not make it last year. They tried their hardest, and they did not become champs. They are doing pretty good this year. But the Florida Panthers are that other hockey team in Florida that's really trying to make a name for hockey in Florida. I, for one, think it's great. I do love their old logo. I love that the Panther coming at you is a really cool logo. And I do love the fact that they are using, hockey and some of their stuff as part to protect the Florida Panthers. I think that's a really cool team contribution and, something a little extra that the teams are doing to help out the state that they call home. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see how they do for the rest of this season. But yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit more. I mean, sports are a thing in Florida, although hockey's not one that you would normally think of in Florida. But yeah, I just wanted to share about another Florida hockey team. Actually, I think that's the only other Florida hockey team. I will be talking about some other sports teams in Florida. I know that there's a lot of Bucks fans. I guess I'll talk about them eventually. We have some other basketball teams, some baseball teams, some other topics I can talk about for you sports fans. Anyways, I hope you enjoy learning about, hockey in Florida and that hockey is kind of becoming a thing. I didn't realize how big it was in Florida, though, until I lived in Tampa, and I will tell you those Lightning fans are crazy. And living in South Florida, I was a little disappointed. It was really hard. You could not find any Panthers gear. You had to go to Pantherland to find Florida Panthers gear. Like, I was literally in Miami, and I could not find it. I couldn't find it at sports stores. I couldn't find it in the malls. Like, I know there's fans down there. The games are attended. But why can't you put your gear into the shops? Okay, ran over. Since we're talking about Florida Panthers, I just had to rant about the fact that I can't find any of their gear. Thank you for listening today, guys. No Florida man today. I hope you guys have a great week. Don't forget to wear your sunscreen, drink your water. As always, guys, that's your daily dose of sunshine.
This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.